1. I have only told this story to 3 people outside of the old military buddies who have similar stories to this experience. First, I need to set the scene. Tucked in a mountain valley in Baghlan, Afghanistan, is a place called Russian Hill. Tapa Gurgan is the best phonetic spelling of the local name. We just called it Tapa. Tapa is the only hill in this entire valley that is not by mistake. It is a burial mound that has existed since the time of Alexander the Great. Generations of locals have been buried here. This also includes the dead Russians from the failed invasion back in the 80s. Now, what did the American Special Operations do when they came to this valley? Level off the top and stick a combat outpost on it. So this is where my story begins. I was a regular army paratrooper attached to the Special Operations team that built the outpost. One of the roles of the regular army guys was to watch the radios at night. We would always get weird babble on them at night, but that could be written off as interference, though years as a radio operator for my team led me to think otherwise. I had that duty one night, 2:45 a.m. to 3 a.m. My shift ends, and I walk down the hill to our little bathroom area. I'm doing my business in this little cinder block hut with a hole, when I hear walking up the hill next to me. I at first think nothing of it, probably just one of the local guards coming up for a shift change. But being the middle of the night and me in a combat zone, I do listen and pay attention. I can hear the sound of gear rattling, which I know for a fact that our locals don't wear metallic buckles or boots for that matter. I've been on patrol with them multiple times and they hang out around the outpost. I know what they sound like when they move. This was not that. This was the heavy-set footsteps of a soldier in combat gear. Not wanting to die on the throne and the fact that I was one of the very few Americans at this outpost, I decided I probably needed to know who was going up the hill. So I cracked the door and peek outside. And holy hell bananas, there is someone on the hill! It happened to be almost a full moon, and I had some decent ambient light. They were carrying an AK, so not American. They also had on a uniform and not the typical Afghan garb. Not one of our ALP. At this point, they are close to the top of the hill, and this person is not someone from the outpost. I grab my rifle and pop out the door, and I run up the hill after them. I get to the top, and not a single person was around. I walk over to the building where the radio guard is and knock on the door. My buddy answers and asks what's up. I check to see if anyone else was up or came in here, and he said that no one has come out of the barracks. Bummed a cigarette and laughed about what just happened. The next day, while eating lunch, we joked about it, and one of the special ops guys, who had been there longer, told us it was a resident Russian ghost. Claimed he started appearing after they used dirt from the hill to fill our HESCO baskets for the wall. Turns out they found some bones while doing it. He even told us that he had been face to face with it, and even drew his sidearm. All the other guys kinda chimed in about their own creepy stories of the place. I got moved to another outpost a few weeks later. Always got super creepy feelings whenever we would visit there. Had a few more weird experiences there. That country has some energy to it. 2. This actually happened to me about 15 minutes ago. I'm currently in my car in the parking lot outside of my barracks typing this now. I was in my room getting ready for the week, and my closet light flickered. I didn't think anything of it, just shitty army barracks. I continued hanging up laundry and cleaning up around my room, and my lights went out. It kind of spooked me, and I went to turn them on, and they all worked just fine. But just after I turned on my main light, it felt like someone grabbed my shoulder and pulled me. I really started to freak out here. I felt sick and lightheaded, and I drank some water and sat in my chair to really ponder what the fuck just happened. I kept feeling sick for a good 30 minutes, and I decided to lay down. After laying down for a bit, my whiteboard hanging on my wall somehow unhooked itself and fell. I immediately got up, put on shoes and a sweatshirt to just leave. I misplaced my keys and I started to panic, and I felt burning pain in my abdomen. I completely ignored it and just focused on getting out of there. I eventually found my keys and I started to head to my car when that burning pain came back. I almost had to stop because the burning got so bad, but I kept moving. I got into my car where I am now, and I lifted up my sweatshirt to see what it was. I have 3 scratch marks where I felt the burning. My heart dropped when I saw them, and I felt like crying. I have no idea what to do. I don't know who I can talk to about this, so I thought this was my best bet. I don't know much at all about this stuff. I've never really believed in ghosts, but I also never really denied they exist. I'm not a religious person at all. I've never thought this sort of thing actually happens. If you know anything about this, please let me know. Update. I talked to my leadership, and they want me to stay another night to see if it persists. Kinda sucks, but whatever. I'm gonna try and get some stuff on camera if this thing happens tonight. Update 2. Sorry for not updating the past day or two. I've just been busy with work and having to deal with this whole situation. I've read a good chunk of the comments, and I appreciate the amount of support you guys are showing, but there's lots of questions there, and I'm going to clear some up. So I stayed in my room the night after, as my leadership asked me to do so, to see if it persists, and to my surprise, nothing much really happened. The only thing that really kind of weirded me out last night was that it was absolutely freezing in the room. The window wasn't open, and the air conditioner wasn't on, so I have no idea how it could possibly be as cold as it was. I read some comments mentioning cold spots, but as I understand, it's only a spot, not normally a cold room. During the night, my sleep schedule was off and on the whole night. I would always wake up in kind of a daze or confused on where I'm at. The confusion would go away seconds after I wake up, and I gain my senses back. I'm going to try and get a camera of some sort to record during the night. If anybody has any recommendations on cameras to look into, I'd appreciate it, but for now, I'm going to sleep in my room again tonight, and I guess we'll just see if anything happens. 3. I come from a religiously conservative Pakistani family. In Pakistan, it is not uncommon for elders to believe in jinns, supernatural beings invisible to the human eye, since the Quran, holy text of Islam, confirms their existence. From my very limited Islamic knowledge, I know that jinns are not unlike humans. They can be good or bad. They can marry and have children. And they were created to follow Allah, God in Islam. Jinns live in a parallel world to humans with different physical dimensions. Basically, they live among us and can see us, but we cannot see them. Growing up as a horror enthusiast, I've had my share of jinn stories from Pakistani elders. These personal recounts would always end with some sort of overarching lesson. For example, my grandpa once told me a jinn story where he went to get a glass of water in the middle of the night and saw a shadowy figure sitting at the dining table. He told me if that ever happens, just pretend like you don't see anything, since we're not supposed to see them anyways, and just leave them be. Now on to the real story. I want to mention that this event happened to my mom anywhere from 10 to 15 years ago. My mom is a practicing Muslim, so she definitely believes in jinns and the supernatural, so I have no reason to doubt her. Apparently, there were other events that took place in this house, but my mom refuses to talk about them. My parents and I moved into a single-family house in suburban South Florida. The first time my mom felt something was off was a few months into living in the house. She was gardening in the backyard, and she noticed a perfectly circular patch of burnt grass, not large, maybe a foot in diameter. The grass everywhere in the backyard was perfectly healthy, and it had been raining a lot for the last few days, so she found this odd. Here and there, minor instances would occur, such as hearing whispers when no one was home, or thinking she had turned off the lights in her room, but walking past it to find them on. But she always rationalized it, then forgot about it. And then something happened one night. It was the middle of the night, and my parents were asleep for several hours at that point. My mom, who was a very light sleeper, heard soft, muffled cries coming from my dad's side of the bed. In her groggy state, she opened her eyes, and in the darkness made out the silhouette of a small girl roughly my size. She couldn't make out any features. She saw that the girl was standing next to my dad, and when hearing my mom stir, silently shifted her head to face her. Since my mom was so tired, she said something like, "It's okay, honey. Just go back to sleep." Instantly, my mom realized the oddity of the situation. I was much closer to my mom, so it didn't make sense for me to go to my dad in the middle of the night. Her head jerked up, and she looked over again to find that no one was there anymore. My mom claims that she had a surge of adrenaline, and motherly protectiveness overcame her. She instantly went to check on me, and when she realized I was fast asleep in my bed, she turned on all the lights in the house, started reciting an Islamic prayer, and went to all corners of the house to bless it, mind you, by herself. The only thing that was out of the ordinary was that the door to the garage was ajar, which we usually close and lock at night. During that time, I remember my parents all of a sudden put the house on the market. They said they wanted to live in a better area, the house was too small, etc., etc. I just thought it was weird since they bought it because it was larger than our small apartment, and they were so excited about it. I guess this event was the catalyst that set my parents to sell the house. I never understood until now. 4. In 2009, I was interested in the paranormal due to the fact that I had many paranormal experiences growing up. I found a website that held ghost tours at the old Southwestern General Hospital. I was excited and ready to go on a ghost hunt. The group that held the ghost tour was named GHOST, or Ghost Hunters of South Texas. The group was professional, and they used many of the items that paranormal researchers used at the time. Before the tour, they showed us proof that they have captured while investigating the property. EVPs, including a little boy saying, "Play with me, please," and a woman with a southern accent responding to questions. The woman is said to be a nurse on the 4th floor by security guards. The woman is said to be seen dressed in old-time nurse attire. After the tour, the group said they were having openings for new members, and the new members would be tested and would be considered in maybe being part of the new team. I was quick to join and try out. I made the team. The team would have private group ghost hunts, so we had the building to ourselves. The 3rd floor was used as a hospice type of area. The building has 4 floors. The 1st, 2nd, and 4th floor were left abandoned and looked like a scene out of a horror movie. Hospital beds lay in rooms dusty and unused. Many papers and nurse logs lay on the desks and had dates from 1995. I even found a death log that had names and dates. The most active areas were the 4th floor and the 2nd floor. The 4th floor had a baby nursery and many rooms that were once used for families that would welcome new babies. One EVP that was caught in that area was one of a crying baby. At the time that EVP was caught, there was no babies in the building, and it was after midnight when it was caught. Also on the 4th floor, there was a long hallway with empty patient rooms. In that hallway, shadows were always seen running or moving. The 2nd floor had old surgery rooms with no windows. Video evidence of a man screaming was caught in this area. Also, many shadow figures were seen in this area. While doing research on the deaths in the building, it came up that a nurse was crushed to death when a malfunction with the elevator happened years ago. During the time I was part of this group, we investigated in this building many times. I also led ghost tours in the building with other members. I witnessed shadows, disembodied voices, screams, and one time heard a female humming a song only to find that room empty and dark. Videos of doors opening on their own with no wind or people in the building. Also, the 3rd floor had employees that would see things and hear things. Patients also complained of a kid running in their room or a man standing over the bed, just looking at them only to disappear. Over the years, I gained experience and loved what I did. As a group, we investigated many places such as schools, homes, and cemeteries in El Paso. We also got to investigate the old Arsarco smelter before it was demolished several years later. I got to ghost hunt with people from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International. I met many celebrities, and the group had them take their own personal ghost tours. It was fun. I grew a thick skin for being scared of anything that goes bump in the dark. One of my favorite places to investigate was Southwestern General Hospital. I never believed in being followed home. One night after investigating, I was at my apartment eating on my couch and watching TV. I had my hallway light on near the front door that was visible from where I was sitting. All of a sudden, from the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow of a person on the wall near the door. I turned and saw the shadow in full form. It was about 6 foot tall and all black. Then 1 second later, the shadow moved as if running down my hallway to my bedroom. I froze in horror, thinking somebody was in my apartment. I got up and walked to my bedroom. Nobody was there. I searched the whole house. Then I thought to myself, maybe I'm going crazy. I soon went to bed a few minutes later. It was about 3:20 a.m. when I felt my bed shake. I woke up to my sheets being pulled off of me very slowly. I tried to move, and I couldn't. My sheets slid very slowly off me towards the floor. I couldn't move. and I started to hear growling in my right ear. From the corner of my eye, I could see something moving near my head, on the right of me. It was on my pillow. I could only see from my peripheral vision that it had hair. It was hairy and brown. If I could compare it to something, I would say Chewbacca from Star Wars type hair. It was moving, and the growling continued. I tried to move my arm and could only move my fingers. My eyes started to water up with tears. The blanket was still being pulled off of me little by little until it hit the floor, and I was no longer covered by my sheet. I felt the hairy thing moving right next to me, and the growling grew louder. Then all of a sudden, I was able to sit up. I turned to look to see what was next to me. The hairy thing was gone, but I could see the imprint of where it sat on the pillow next to me. It was the size of a full-grown cat. Then I looked around the room to gather my sanity. My sheet was on the floor, and my eyes were still watery. I asked myself, is that sleep paralysis? I found it hard to sleep that night, due to the fact that I lived alone in that apartment. The next day, I had a girl over to my apartment that I was seeing from school. I was playing PlayStation, and she asked if she could take a nap in my bed. I said yes. She went to my bed and fell asleep. 20 minutes later, she came back to my living room crying. She said, "I have to leave now." I asked her what happened, and what she said shocked me. She said that something shook the bed and woke her up. She couldn't move, and that's when the growling started in her ear. Then the bed went down as if somebody lay down next to her. She tried to scream for me and couldn't. Then she felt as if somebody was breathing on her neck as the growling grew louder. She said it lasted about 2 minutes and she was finally able to move. Once she was able to move, she ran to me in the living room. After she explained what happened, she grabbed her stuff and left out of my door. I didn't tell her what happened to me the night before, but for the same thing to happen to her was enough proof that something wasn't right. I couldn't explain what was happening. First thing that came to mind was something followed me home. After a few days, all the activities stopped. Only when I would go on investigations, I would see shadows in my apartment, and then it would just go away. I loved what I did, and the only time I feared the paranormal is this moment. I no longer ghost hunt, and the group no longer gets together. Southwest General Hospital was purchased and is now remodeled and is in use. I can only imagine what the employees of LTAC go through by being in that building. Every now and then I drive down Cotton and pass the building. I miss the days of being part of Ghost Hunters of South Texas, El Paso. If you're ever in El Paso after stopping at Chico's Tacos, be sure to pass by the old building by the star on the mountain, formerly known as Southwest General Hospital. 5. The setup of my bedroom for context. It was a standard rectangle-shaped room. If you were standing in the doorway, this is what the room looked like. The far wall had a window that took up most of the upper half of the wall. My bunk bed was pushed up against the left wall with the head of my bed furthest from the window. I had a desk under the window and some shelves on the right wall. Okay, onto the story. This happened when I was 15 years old. I was on the top bunk, and when I woke up in the middle of the night, I was looking right at my desk. There was a dark figure of a man sitting in my chair. I jumped down and turned on my light without taking my eyes off the man. The figure vanished as soon as the light came on. It scared me, but by this point in my life I was pretty used to seeing random figures. I was able to go back to sleep and not think too much about it until a year later. I went on a trip with my high school choir to Canada when I was 16. My friends and I would goof around in our spare time and go shopping for souvenirs. I have always hated pics being taken of me, as I am super shy. So my friend thought it was funny to snap random pics once in a while. One picture in particular struck him as bizarre when we all got our films developed. This was 1998. He gave it to me and asked if I knew who the man was in the picture. The picture was taken in the food court of a mall. When he snapped the picture, there was no one else there because for some odd reason, that day most of the food court was closed. In the picture, there is a man sitting at a table right next to where I am walking, and he is looking directly at my friend's camera. My blood ran cold when I looked at it, because the shape of the man is exactly like the shape of the dark figure from my desk a year before. My friend agreed there was no one sitting there when he snapped the picture. I still have that picture. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Paranormal Stories, episode 209. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories and sent in stories for use in this video. And I'd also like to give a shout out, before we go on, to the author of story number 1, Spirited Soul. That was our Russian ghost in Afghanistan. Thank you kindly, Spirited Soul. If you have a story yourself you'd like to send along, then you can send it to kingofthecities@gmail.com. Okay, as we're heading into the weekend, hopefully I'll be able to stream this weekend. I'm feeling a bit better today. Voice is feeling very strong and manly. Rawr, rawr. Meow. Yeah, anyway, I'm not sure if I'll be streaming Phasmophobia, because the last 2 times I tried to stream Phasmophobia, my internet has went to hell. First time, so badly I actually had to replace my equipment. I think it's just bad timing, because I'd been having some issues with the internet for, well, really a few weeks, but I've been getting quite bad for the past couple of days. So that led to a phone call with the person who said, well, we're going to replace the equipment. And sure enough, when I installed the new thing, all the problems were gone for a few hours until I tried to stream Phasmophobia again. I thought, hey, it's been stable for a few hours. I'll test it out and make sure it's working. And of course, that particular night, after having a minor mental breakdown, I thought, okay, I'll grab my phone, my mobile phone. I'll phone them up because I couldn't go online to check. So I phoned them up and put in my phone number, and I didn't even have to get through to one of the people in the call center. They literally said, yes, okay, we are actually doing maintenance in your area right now. You will experience disruptions until 7 a.m. We'll send you a text when it's fixed. Still waiting on the text, by the way, over a day later. So, there we go. But, was back on after a couple hours, but at that point, the night was disrupted, my work was disrupted. There was no point continuing to do another stream because it could have went off again. Seems to be working now. It's been fine all day, so hopefully it's okay for the weekend. And, I'm reluctant to stream that game because that might be the problem. It might be a haunted game. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.